Okay, so we're going to start chapter 18. Conclusion, the perfection of renunciation. So actually, Prabhupada writes saying that the Bhagavad Gita is over in 17 chapters. And 18 chapter is the summary, conclusion. And second chapter was summary. This is summary and conclusion. Actually, second chapter also has conclusion, but not many people get to understand the conclusion. But Prabhupada in his purpose has made very clear. Conclusion is Bhakti Yoga, but here it's more specific in terms of action. What does one have to do if one has to come to Krishna? Also, because it's also summarizing the modes, summarizing the question about whether one should work or whether one should give up work, and eventually Krishna concludes what one needs to do. Okay, so go through this. Arjuna Vacha. Sannyasasya mahabhaho tattvam ichchami veditum त्यागस्य च ऋषिकेश पृथक्केशी निषूदना. Arjuna said, "O mighty armed one, I wish to understand the purpose of renunciation, Tyaga, and of the renounced order of life, Sannyasa, O killer of Keshidi and master of senses." So please note here, there are two different concepts. One is Tyaga, renunciation, and then there is Sannyasa. Sannyasa is ashrama. Renounced order of life is ashrama, Sannyasa ashrama. Tyaga means process of renunciation. Actually, Bhagavad Gita is finished in 17 chapters. The 18th chapter is a supplementary summarization of the topics discussed before. In every chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna stresses that devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal of life. The same point is summarized in the 18th chapter as the most confidential path of knowledge. So we should understand most confidential path of knowledge, meaning one who is really in knowledge comes to bhakti. In the first 6 chapters, stress was given to devotional service, yoginam api sarvesham. Of all the yogis or transcendentalists, one who always thinks of me within himself is the best. In the next 6 chapters, pure devotional service and its nature and activity were discussed. In the third 6 chapters, knowledge, renunciation, activities of material nature and transcendental nature, devotional service were described. It was concluded that all acts should be performed in conjunction with the Supreme Lord, represented by the words Om Tat Sat, which indicate Vishnu, the Supreme Person. This we discussed last class. The third part of Bhagavad Gita has shown the devotion service, and nothing else is the ultimate purpose of life. Prabhupada is saying this, though it's emphasized in the first and second part also. But normally people think that the Bhagavad Gita is a book of jnana, because third part highlights Gnana. But Prabhupada is saying, no, actually third part has shown that it is actually devotional service only, and nothing else is the ultimate purpose of life. It is not Gnana, it's not mental speculation, it's not going to Brahman. It is devotional service. This has been established by citing past acharyas and Brahma Sutra, the Vedanta Sutra. Brahma Sutra, Vedanta Sutra are the same. Certain impersonalists consider themselves to have a monopoly on the knowledge of Vedanta Sutra. But actually the Vedanta Sutra is meant for understanding devotional service. For the Lord himself is the composer of the Vedanta Sutra and he is the knower. So Krishna is saying, Vedanta Krit Veda Vid Eva Chaham. I am only the creator and the knower. See, many times actually what Prabhupada writes in English will have Sanskrit verses, underlying Sanskrit verses, and he's giving the translation. And so it's also nice as we go forward, we should be able to recognize which verse is Prabhupada quoting. That is described in the 15th chapter. In every scripture, every Veda, devotional service is the objective. That is explained in Bhagavad Gita. In fact, Prabhupada has not quoted those verses here, but if you, in the sense, the Sanskrit versions, but if you hear his lectures, before every word, Prabhupada will quote a verse. And he says in his book saying that this is the authenticity. This is how, a preacher should. And it's difficult. I mean, I've been trying only some verses we are able to remember, not everybody, because literally we shouldn't be speaking anything apart from Shastra. But only practice I have tried to incorporate is to Somehow by Prabhupada's mercy, the purport statements remain in my head, though I don't remember the Sanskrit. So that way, I'm also trying to present Prabhupada as is. But it'll be nice if verses can be memorized. It's a very nice thing to do. And like I was saying, it's also good to just chant the verses. It's very purifying. Just, every day, maybe 15 minutes, you can just chant Bhagavad Gita verses. And if anybody wants help in uh, chanting, then you can let me know. I can help out to whatever extent possible. As in the second chapter, a synopsis of the whole subject matter was described. In the 18th chapter, also a summary of all instructions given. Purpose of life is indicated to be renunciation and attainment of transcendental position above the three modes. See, indicated to be renunciation. But this renunciation is not Falgu renunciation, Falgu Tyaga. It is Yukta Vairagya. But still, point is that it is about not being attached to material things, material world, material modes, and attaining the transcendental position, meaning going above the three modes. This is the purpose, but not the ultimate purpose. Ultimate purpose is to actually develop love for Krishna. But this is the process. Arjuna wants to clarify the two distinct subject matters of Bhagavad Gita, namely Tyaga and Sannyasa. Thus, he is asking the meaning of these two words. Two words used in this verse to address the Supreme Lord, Rishikesha and Keshi Nishudana, are significant. Rishikesha is Krishna, master of all senses, who can always help us attain mental serenity. So we discussed this in the first chapter itself, Rishikesha. So he's the master of the senses, all senses belong to him. We are just misusing our senses right now by using it for sense gratification. So when we start using our senses for the pleasure of Krishna, then automatically mental serenity is achieved. Because Prabhupada writes in many places saying that disturbance is because of senses. Senses are disturbing. They keep pulling us in different directions. So obviously we won't have mental serenity or peace of mind. But when we engage all senses in service of Krishna, then the senses cannot disturb us. Arjuna requests him to summarize everything in such a way that he can remain equipoised. Yet he has some doubts, and doubts are always compared to demons. And that's why Prabhupada always made it a habit to allow people to ask questions at the end of a class. He therefore addresses Krishna as Keshi Nishudana. Keshi was a most formidable demon, was killed by the Lord. Now Arjuna is expecting Krishna to kill the demon of doubt. Okay. Oops, whatever. Okay. Shri Bhagavan Vacha. Kamyanam karmanam nyasam sanyasam kavayo viduhu sarva karma palatyagam prahustyagam vichakshanaha. Supreme Personality of Godhead said the giving up of activities that are based on material desire is what great learned men call renounced order of life, sannyasa. Please note, sannyasa means giving up activities that are based on material desire. Tyaga means giving up results of activities. Is tyaga. So, in this tyaga, for example, if suppose say one might be doing material activities or spiritual activities, but giving up the results is tyaga. Sannyasa specifically is giving up material activities that are based on material desire. That is sannyasa. So that is why in the sannyasa order of life, which is sannyasa ashram, person doesn't engage in any material activities like a grihastha or vanaprastha. That is why that sannyasa. So that when we come to that stage, we have to give up basically all activities which are based on material desire. But even without accepting a sannyasa order, sannyasa ashram, and devotee should actually live this life of actually giving up activities based on material desire. We might do it as a matter of responsibility, our work, taking care of family, etc., but not with material desire. And we anyway have Hare Krishna.
Is it my phone? Is my network, or it was going off and on and off? That's why I wanted to make sure. It's
Okay.
my network or something.
It's your network, Mataji.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Thank you. And giving up results of all activities is what the wise call Tyaga. So we have to give up results of activities. This is Nishkama Karma. Nishkama means without any desire. But the performance of activities for results has to be given up. This is the instruction of Bhagavad Gita. This Krishna already spoke in the 2nd, 3rd, 5th chapters. This is the whole topic about karma, meaning first is giving up results, attachment to results. Second is offering that results to Krishna. And those were discussed in those initial chapters. But activities leading to advanced spiritual knowledge are not to be given up. So performance of activities for results has to be given up. Results also has to be given up. So see, so many things are there. We should not be doing activities for getting results, right? Even whether material or spiritual. Material activities should be done for because it's a matter of following varnashrama. So we just follow whatever is activities to be done based on our varna and ashrama without expecting results. Spiritual activities are done for the pleasure of Krishna, again without Guru and Krishna, again without expecting results. So first thing is nobody should perform any activities for results, be it material or spiritual. Second is giving up activities. Prabhupada here is saying it's not that we give up all activities. We give up activities based on material desire. Activities leading to advanced spiritual knowledge are not to be given up. So these activities are required, not that we just end all activities. This will be made clear in the next verses. In Vedic literature, there are many prescriptions of methods for performing sacrifice for some particular purpose. There are certain sacrifices to perform to attain a good sun or to attain elevation to higher planets. But sacrifices prompted by desire should be stopped. However, sacrifice for purification of one's heart or for advancement in spiritual science should not be given up. So basically, again, he's highlighting the same thing, saying the yagna, dana, tapa, all this should be done. We discussed this in the previous chapter. Yagna, sacrifice, dana, charity, tapa, austerities. These should be done by everybody. Why? Because it will purify one's heart and help us to make progress. That is the reason actually we do all these various vratas like Ekadasi, getting up early in the morning every day, chanting Brahmurta. All this is for purification one's heart, eating only prasadam. It's a sacrifice. So that is all done for just purification of one's heart. Because if one's heart is not purified, then we will remain in the modes. And if we are remaining in the modes, then it's a miserable life. So everything has to be done for purification. Purification means going from tamoguna to rajoguna, rajoguna to satoguna, satoguna to shuddha sattva. That is purification. 18.3 Tyajyam doshavad ityeke karma prahurmanishinaha yagnadana tapakarma natyajyam iti chapare. Some learned men declare that all kinds of fruitive activities should be given up as faulty. Yet other sages maintain that the acts of charity, sacrifice, and penance, yagna, dana, tapa, should never be abandoned. There are many activities in Vedic literature which are subjects of contention. For instance, it is said that an animal can be killed in a sacrifice, yet some maintain that animal killing is completely abominable. Although animal killing in a sacrifice is recommended in Vedic literature, the animal is not considered to be killed. The sacrifice is to give a new life to the animal. Sometimes the animal is given a new life after being killed in the sacrifice, and sometimes the animal is promoted immediately to the human form of life. So either in the same yoni or species, or it can even be promoted to human form. But there are different opinions among sages. Some say that animal killing should always be avoided, and others say that for specific purpose it is good. See, please understand this. Sages means Muni. Prabhupada says Muni means one who has a different viewpoint. It's not that all Munis are saying the absolute truth. So we should be very careful. Many times, people quote some like Vishwamitra or, some Muni. Munis don't have to necessarily be speaking absolute truth. And there are different opinions. Each of them have their own opinion. But we have to take opinions or instructions from munis who are in devotional service or basically devotees. So Prabhupada here is saying different. Krishna is also saying different. People say different thing. They're all learned. They're all munis. Some say that animal killing should also be avoided, and others say that for a specific sacrifice it is good. All these different opinions on sacrificial activity are now being clarified by the Lord Himself. So Krishna in the next words actually gives his opinion. He says, "This is my opinion." Nishchayam shrunume tatra tyage bharata sattama tyago hi purushabhyagra trividha samprakirtitaha. Oh, best of the Bharatas, now hear my judgment about renunciation. For tiger among men, renunciation is declared in the scriptures to be of three kinds. So Krishna is now going to first talk about renunciation, tyaga in three kinds. Although there are differences of opinion about renunciation, here the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, gives his judgment, which should be taken as final. After all, Vedas are different laws given by the Lord. Here the Lord is personally present and his word should be taken as final. And the word should be taken as final. Krishna's word should be taken as final, and Prabhupada's word should be taken as final. But nowadays we are in this habit of questioning, or not questioning, just sidelining. If we question, then other people will question us, saying that why are you questioning? So it's better if the statements are sidelined and nobody really observes that it's being sidelined, and then whatever one wants to do can be done. No, but we should understand whatever Prabhupada is writing in his books. Prabhupada said books are the basis. So many times we might be hearing some conversations and we might conclude certain things. No, conversations meaning Prabhupada conversations only. Prabhupada in his conversations was very contextual to our letters, right, to that particular devotee and devotee's situation, right? Like for example, different devotees are stuck in different situations, right? And not everybody can be given the same prescription to come out of their position. Some people, some lenience can be given to some people. For some others, it might be more stricter. So, but personal advice is very different from Vyasasana advice. So, Prabhupada's Vyasasana advice is his books. Prabhupada's personal advice is his conversation letters, mainly letters, right? But we should not tend to be more inclined to follow his letters or conversations as compared to his books, because we should understand conversations are very contextual. Books are not contextual. Books are absolute, as in Prabhupada is just saying what needs to be done. So similarly, whatever Krishna is saying is also what needs to be done. We cannot interpret or take whatever we like and reject whatever we don't like. For example, Krishna in Bhagavad Gita only now says Sarva Dharman Pariteja. But then we say, no, it's not required to fully surrender. Why? Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and gave love of Godhead free to everybody. So no need to surrender. Yeah, no need to surrender in the sense, Krishna said, if you don't surrender, I won't give you anything. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, it's okay, you first take it, but then surrender. He didn't mean that take it and then do whatever you like. This is the misinterpretation. Right? He says, take it, I'm here to distribute. Because the process of this Hare Krishna Mahamantra itself is such that we will automatically surrender. But it's not like we're chanting Hare Krishna and we don't surrender, meaning actually we are not following the process properly. Our devotees think, no, Kali Yuga, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so merciful. So we can just simply chant Hare Krishna and do whatever we want. We're not going to get anywhere. And many devotees also have this habit of saying, my Guru is very merciful. I can do anything I want. Guru might be merciful, but merciful in giving, enabling, pulling you along, so that one can actually make progress. But if you are following something which is not helping us make progress, Guru cannot give proxy for us, right? He cannot use his influence to get us into Goloka. That's not possible. He can use his influence on us and make sure that we can follow things so that we become qualified. So anyway, so we have to take whatever Krishna is saying is final, whatever Prabhupada is saying is final. Lord says that the process of renunciation should be considered in terms of modes of material nature. Okay. Yagnadana tapa karma natyajam karyam eva tat yagno danam tapaschaiva pavanani manishinam. Acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance are not to be given up. They must be performed. Indeed, sacrifice, charity, and penance purify even the great souls. Manishinam. Manishinam means great souls. The yogi should perform acts for advancement of human society. Yogi should perform acts for advancement of human society. And there are many purificatory processes for advancing a human being to spiritual life. Samskara. Yesterday I spoke about this. Prabhupada is mentioning that here. The marriage ceremony, for example, is considered to be one of these sacrifices. It's called Vivaha Yagna. Should a sannyasi who has given up his family relations encourage marriage ceremony? Lord says here that any sacrifice which is meant for human welfare should not be given up. So this specific point Prabhupada is making because a lot of his god brothers criticized him because he was helping his devotees get married. He said, "You're a sannyasi, why are you engaging in all this?" So Prabhupada is substantiating his action, saying that Krishna is saying here that sacrifice which is meant for human welfare should not be given up. Vivaha Yagna is meant to regulate human mind so that it may become peaceful for spiritual advancement. See, what a beautiful statement. What is Vivaha Yagna? Many people are, saying, I am not going to get married. But why is this required? Because it is going to regulate the human mind. It's actually going to regulate the human mind. It is the idea of this Vivaha ceremony is so that one can become peaceful for spiritual advancement, not that one become jittery or agitated. That agitation today is having in Vivaha, in marriage ceremony because of wrong ways of finding partners. Sensual basis to find partners. I like his looks, I like his voice, I like his job, I like his money. And no importance given to culture, no importance given to spiritual progress, nothing. Or most importantly, no importance given to astrology and matchmaking. Right? Whimsical methodology to marry obviously results in disturbance. But if marriage is done following the right process of matching horoscopes, etc., it will regulate the human mind because otherwise human mind will think that I'm free to do whatever nonsense because I'm not married. I don't have any responsibility. So I can live however I want. So it regulates the human mind. And then one becomes peaceful. No agitation of the mind, no sexual agitation, no agitation, and that's the whole thing, right? This whole marriage, it should, if one is agitated to engage too much with the opposite sex, so this Vivaha Yagna puts an end to it. Because the idea is to have very restricted engagement with people apart from our own husband, wife, right? So that mind becomes peaceful. We're not like today. People are so crazy. They just, keep running behind, other men, other women. I mean, US, it's so common, right? Horrible culture. It's come to India also right now. Very scary, actually, the way it is going. But this doesn't mean, like I keep saying, one bad doctor doesn't mean that you stop going to doctors itself, right? So some bad examples in the society doesn't make that whole system bad. We have to figure out why that is going in that direction. How do we fix it? But Vivaha Yagna is absolute requirement. For most men, see Prabhupada is saying, most men, Vivaha Yagna should be encouraged even by persons in the renounced order of life. Why most men? Because there will be some very handful who will want to remain brahmacharis. We should not force them. And also Matajis should be away from brahmacharis interaction because they have, it's so difficult to control senses and they've decided to sacrifice their life without, for Krishna, without getting married. And the opposite sex agitates the mind. Like what happened to Ajamila, anytime that lust can get provoked. So women, especially good looking women, have to remain away from brahmacharis. All women, but especially I'm saying good looking because it's very easy to get carried away. And generally, it is also the practice that we respect sannyasis and brahmacharis, and Matajis are expected to cover their head. Why is that? Because actually hair attracts men, it is Shastra says. And we don't want to disturb sannyasis and brahmacharis who are so exalted by our presence. So even I don't recommend Matajis to individually go and speak to brahmacharis also, even if it is for spiritual things, right? Because we should just understand, we are, by not doing that, we are just helping them by remaining fixed in their sadhana. Actually, I know many brahmacharis who come to me because I'm a grihastha and say, Prabhu, why don't you stand in the middle? You know, we will do whatever preaching, but if people come ask questions, you please answer. Or if we have to deal with women assistants, for example, some secretary, etc., is you be in the center. We don't want to engage. But unfortunately, women don't understand this, and they go, and especially no question talking privately. I mean, maybe in the temple hall, maybe after a class, it's still okay if there are many other people, but and singly drawing attention to one's own self and having a one-on-one conversation, all this should be avoided, because it's a big gift to human society, these sannyasis and brahmacharis, and we have to do our bit in helping them and not disturbing them. So please note, I mean, these things are very, very important. As grihasthas, okay, we understand. We've seen the other side. Hmm. We've seen men, we've seen women, we've seen good side, we've seen bad side. We know that it's not all attractive, right? It's just illusion. But brahmacharis may not. Sannyasis are still okay because they've become strong. They would be so strong. But still, we have seen in ISKCON, sannyasis have fallen in the past. And it's all because of free mixing. Free mixing. I mean, few people who fell down had women as their secretaries, assistants. They thought that they're above all this. Maya is so powerful. So I mean, women as a class should actually be very, very careful that we don't become the cause for somebody's disturbance, distraction. So please note this. So that's why Prabhupada is saying for most men, Vivaha Yagna should be encouraged even by persons in renounced order of life. Sannyasi should never associate with women, see. But that does not mean that one who is in the lower stages of life, a young man, should not accept a wife. Prabhupada is not saying that it does not mean that one in a lower stage of life, a young man, can associate with women. That's not what he's writing here. So he's saying sannyasi should never associate, but young man can associate. No, that's not what he's saying. He's saying sannyasis should never associate, and young men should not accept a wife. All prescribed sacrifices are meant for achieving the Supreme Lord. Therefore, in lower stages, they should not be given up. Lower stage. This is still stage of, bodily attachment, etc., etc. Similarly, charity is for the purification of the heart. If charity is given to suitable persons, as described previously, 17th chapter, we discussed this, it leads one to advance spiritual life. So one should do yagna dana tapa. And as part of yagna, all the samskaras, part of yagna, garbhadana samskara, vivaha, yagna. So those interested, please read this book on samskaras. There's one book on samskaras which was published some time back. There's one very specific book on garbhadana samskara. Please gift them to anybody who's getting married, man, woman, whoever it is. Gift them that garbhadana samskara book. Even if by chance they get interested and read that book, their life will become eventually successful. So these things have to be followed. So it's not like, so we should understand, right? When we are reading through pages of Bhagavad Gita, it's not that everywhere Prabhupada is just saying simply chant Hare Krishna, don't follow any other rules, do whatever you like. He is not saying this. He's saying follow this, be strict. He's saying all these things. Somehow we don't read Prabhupada's purpose properly. And then simplistic view of Prabhupada's purpose. Prabhupada is just highlighting bhakti. So end of the story. What about the underlying details? It's okay. It's not very important. Who decided? I decided. And that is the reason why I keep saying that, see, as individuals, not every individual has the ability to go read all this and understand the importance, or many people don't even understand how much importance should be given, because there are 1,000 statements and all of them need to be given importance. Some are more important than the other based on our stage in life, but many people may not have that much intelligence to understand, right? So that is the job of preachers. Actually, yesterday, it was an interesting realization for me. I realized that I'm not a preacher, but I'm a teacher, right? And I was thinking, okay, what is the difference? Teacher intention is to handhold this people and take them from stage 1 to stage 2, right? KG1 to first standard, second standard. Preacher is just getting admissions. Preacher is like, he'll go talk about, oh, okay, see, this school is there, you please come and join. Preachers are also required, teachers are also required. But if there are only preachers and nobody to teach, then it's gone case, right? And in fact, that is the role of a guru. That's why yesterday I spoke about Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru. That's the role of a guru. Actually, he is the teacher. But before we get there, we can have intermediate teachers, but they should not just be preachers. Preachers cannot possibly help people to step by step make progress. So it was an interesting realization for me that looks like I'm more of a teacher than a preacher. And I'm happy that way, because my idea is to help people understand Prabhupada's books and what he has written and the importance of it, importance of applying it in our life, and how it is directly correlated to the progress that we will make. Okay, with those is that I'll stop here. If there are any questions, we can discuss.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, you mentioned about we do certain things to purify our heart and
We
get
have to
the
do things. We have to do things to purify our.
yes, Prabhu. So certain things when we do in this intention, is that also like expecting results out of what we do, Prabhu?
No, purification is an expectation. It's a good expectation. It's not a result. Generally means anything which is not connected to Krishna, right? But of course, because Shastra is clearly saying, like Prabhupada is saying, see, we should understand one thing. When Prabhupada is saying do everything for purification, that is not sense gratification, or that's not selfishness, because Prabhupada is saying, right? If Prabhupada never said that do things for purification, and I made up this, concocted this thought process saying that I should do everything for purification, then that can be seen as selfishness or whatever, right? When acharyas are saying something, then we don't have to worry. You just say, okay, no. Acharyas are saying, Krishna is saying, so I have to do things to purify myself. That's it. And it's not even like a desire, it's like a duty, It's not even a desire, it's a duty. Oh, okay, I have to do these things. Why? Because I have to purify myself. Why? Because I have to serve Krishna. Why? If I don't purify myself, I can't serve Krishna. Who can serve Krishna? Only the pure souls. So if I don't purify myself, I cannot even get to my result. So it becomes part of sadhana bhakti to purify myself. So it's not a desire. Of course, that way getting Krishna itself is a desire, right? And that is the biggest desire that one should have. But it's not a desire of a particular activity as such. It's a process. Purification is a process. Result of an activity is like I did this. So for example, right, like I'm doing a preaching program. Like 500 people have to come. Now this is a desire. Now this desire is okay because it is connected with Krishna. But it's not that if 500 people didn't come tomorrow, I'll stop. Right? So that is the spiritual desire is always good, and I can keep working towards it. Why? Because it is going to please Guru and Krishna. But if I'm preaching, if I'm doing saying that, okay, I'm going to sing today and I want 50 people coming and appreciating me saying that what a nice kirtan, that's not good. Right? So it depends on the intention. So we have to understand it depends on the intention. If it is towards going towards Krishna, Guru and Krishna, going closer to Guru and Krishna, those desires are absolutely required. Right? Those desires are required. Working towards achieving those results is also required. But we don't become result oriented, as people say, meaning if I don't get result, then I'll stop working. I'll stop doing that activity, not that kind of orientation. But Prabhupada, take example of Prabhupada, no? Prabhupada said book distribution. How many books have you distributed? Prabhupada did not say, are you okay? It was very nice that you went participated in book distribution. He said, no, how many books have you distributed? Total result focus. Right? So it's not that it is wrong, because it's for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna. Whenever you have doubt, think about what Prabhupada did in the context. It will help you get clarity. Okay. Anything else?
Prabhu, you told Vivaha Yagna would regulate one's mind. How
Yeah.
will it regulate? I mean, by any yagnas or something, how will it regulate?
Not yagna. Yagna, not the process of yagna. The marriage,
Uh,
marriage as an institution regulates the mind. How does it regulate the mind? Okay, very important question. It's going to take me 15 minutes to answer this question. Anybody wants to tell? Anybody wants to give it a shot, saying why marriage regulates the mind?
Prabhuji, maybe
Married
before,
people will have experience. So I'm asking, yeah. Yeah, Akshay Prabhu.
yeah, Prabhuji, maybe before marriage, because we have a sexual desire, most of the young people. So once marriage is done, that is regulated, that has a
Okay.
channel.
Yeah.
So that may be one of the points.
Correct. That is one point. That is actually one of the biggest points, especially, yeah, and most people in Kali Yuga are driven by this sexual urge. And so, thankfully, still in a country like India, possibly premarital sex indulgence is not so much, unlike in the US. I guess this year also it's coming. I hear that it's there, but maybe it's not so prevalent that it's spoiled the society. Yes, but we are getting there, right? We are slowly, steadily getting there. Obviously, it has to regulate. That is one. Any other? That's important, very important point, and that's actually Prabhupada when he's making that statement, he's referring to that only because in that context he was amongst these hippies and who were just famous for all these activities, right? They're saying, yeah, it regulates your mind. Now you can't go and just uh, be like a dog, right? Any partner, anytime. So that regulation of the mind happens. What about others? Maybe more sober um reasons or more, let's say, more relevant for Indian context. What else? What other regulation of mind happens? One very important thing happens.
The
Yeah,
tendency of the soul. Hare Krishna
Mataji.
Prabhu. This is
Yeah, hi.
prayer. The tendency of the soul is to serve. So we'll be fixed in service, serving the husband or his extended family, or
Okay,
the
nice.
focus remains instead of so many diversions.
Okay, nice. Okay, nice point. Very nice point. And this requires a lot of surrender. Only then people can think about this regulation that, my life is now going in the direction that it has to. One more for youngsters, there's one like big regulation of mind which happens with marriage. Youngsters, do you want to think? Anybody? We now have sufficient youngsters here to represent the youngsters group. Youngsters means those who are not married. What else do you think? What regulation will happen with marriage? Okay, so this is very important. Please pay attention. Actually, previously there wasn't children. Who were children? Children were completely under the guidance and instructions of parents. Okay, so it was regulated. The mind was regulated even in childhood. And subsequently, when somebody got married, the regulations continued. Now, because the girl ideally goes to another house, has to get used to new set of customs, new, possibly culture would have been the same previously because marriage would have happened within people of the same culture. But nowadays it's so crazy, right? I mean, so it's a big challenge. And the opportunity was actually to regulate the mind and expectations. Today's context, marriage regulates this independence, this crazy independence that we have before marriage, because our parents have not actually regulated our youth. Mm, Um, And I see so much of challenge with my own daughter. And while we try to regulate, they try to move away from regulation. And this is very unfortunate because actually that that lack of regulation goes into marriage and it creates havoc. It creates havoc. So it's a very important thing to consider that, okay, maybe my parents didn't regulate, but maybe marriage will regulate me. And it is important for everybody to get regulated. For example, men, they generally want to be responsible, especially boys, right? Before they get married, they have no idea what's going on, who's taking care of the house, what response, nothing. They have any idea. They're like free birds. They're just doing their own stuff. Now, and just imagine, I mean, post marriage, yeah, oh my God, I mean, I have responsibility, I have emotional responsibility, I have financial responsibility, I have so many things. Now my mind can't just, chill out like, okay, let me go booze, party here, go there, do some nonsense, do whatever I want. Right now it is regulated. I am living in now a regulation. I need to adhere to certain things. I need to take care of certain things. I'm responsible for a few things. It's now regulating the mind. And it's the same thing today. It's not very different. Previous generation, possibly conversation would have been very different between boys and girls. Boys who used to be irresponsible. Now in today's world, girls are also irresponsible at that age. They have no idea what they're doing, what they're supposed to do, because parents are bringing up girls today thinking that, oh, we don't want to put burden on them, let them do whatever they want. Anyway, they have so much of responsibility, upcoming responsibility after they get married. But they are not realizing that not teaching that responsibility regulation before marriage, they're not going to just simply go to the husband's house and just learn everything. So what is happening? That lack of regulation continues into marriage, and then people just chill out. And people today, post marriage, people don't want to cook. I've seen so many people. There is no either there's a cook who comes and cooks, right? Or there's no kitchen at all. It's Swiggy. Swiggy kitchen is my kitchen, right? And this is all irresponsibility. This is lack of regulation. Actually, marriage is supposed to regulate all this free animalistic kind of life. It is supposed to regulate. But nowadays, what is happening? Two animals are coming together. How is it going to help? Mhm. But the idea was to regulate, and that's the whole reason why Prabhupada in the first chapter only says role of elders. He says role of elders. It's so important, and the elders today have no clue themselves what to do, what to tell, what not to tell. So how will they guide anybody? The presence of elders in the house is so important. Otherwise we'll just be like, we'll think of freedom, yeah, but animalistic freedom, that is not human freedom. Do whatever you want, whenever you want, wherever you want. That's animalistic. So all this regulation has to happen. And marriage is so important that it just grounds us. People might look at that as, curbing my freedom, so much of adjustment. Why is all this required? Why can't I just remain what I am? This adjustment is not only for girls. This adjustment is for girls and boys both. And it regulates us. It regulates us. We have to work within some constraints. We can't just think this is a free world. I can do whatever nonsense I want, right? Good question, Akshita. Thank you for asking that. So it's a big one. It's a very, very big one. People don't understand. They just think, useless. Who wants to get married? But it's very, very important for spiritual progress. Actually, I realized after coming to Grihastha Ashram, saying how much I learned. If I were not in Grihastha Ashram, I wouldn't have learned possibly 50% of what I now learned post coming into Grihastha Ashram. I mean, it's a big learning institute. It's a big learning institute. Put it that way. Okay. Okay. There's nothing else we can end.
Yeah.
Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyartha Patitana Pavane Vaishnava Namo Namo. Hare Krishna.
Hare